complex, much too complex, too complex, much too complex.
Welcome to the BlackTrack, where I do commentary and review of movies with an all-black cast or at least a black lead. Today's movie is Drop Squad, a 1994 movie written and directed by David C. Johnson, but produced by Spike Lee. Drop Squad is a movie about a group of non-elite neighborhood agents who abduct black people who they feel are in need of reprogramming. I say non-elite because, as you will see, they are terrible at their job. DROP stands for Deprogramming and Restoration of Pride, and honestly, it's not a bad acronym or premise. Drop Squad stars Eric LaSalle, who plays Bruford Jameson, an advertising executive who's placed in charge of urban development, which is usually code for the "we have no idea how to market to black people" department. Unfortunately, neither does Bruford, because he falls back on the same tired trend of using stereotypes to sell products. This is an issue that's been prevalent in advertising for a long time, and it's definitely still around in today's commercials, if not a little more subtle. Just pay attention the next time you watch a Popeyes commercial. LaSalle is backed up by Ving Rhames, who plays one of the more prominent members of the Drop Squad. This movie hit theaters 1 week before Pulp Fiction, so Rhames was working his ass off in 1994. This is one of those movies that's more known for the trailer than the actual movie, and it definitely has cult status written all over it. The movie was based on a short called The Session, which was created by the same director, and you can actually go and watch it on YouTube if you want to get an idea of what the Drop Squad is all about. Hey, but did rewatching this movie after so many years reprogram me to give it a good grade? Let's BlackTrack and find out. The movie starts with what looks like a heist perpetrated by the Drop Squad, but it's never really made clear what exactly they're stealing. I guess this was just supposed to establish that they are operating outside the boundaries of the law, and also operating in broad daylight with this not even a little bit inconspicuous van. We don't have to wait long to see somebody get dropped/abducted, because this crooked politician here is the first contestant on a game show I like to call Come Back Brother. It actually looks like they put some effort into abducting this councilman, but don't get too used to that, cause these are some of the sloppiest MFers in the world when it comes to this job. You know, for such a mysterious organization, it's definitely not hard to find information about them. I was under the impression that you couldn't really find them, but that they would find you. But this woman walks into this restaurant after receiving a tip that she could find them there. The cook has no idea what she's talking about and only wants to sell his bootleg t-shirts. Garvey here, played by Ving Rhames, tells her that just like the man said, the Drop Squad ain't real. But that's exactly what somebody who works for a secret organization would say, so she tells him what she needs anyway. You see, her brother Bruford is distancing himself further and further away from the family, and she wants him dropped. Well, damn, it kinda sucks that anybody can just request that you be dropped without a real reason or any real evidence. Honestly, a group like this probably shouldn't be taking requests. Garvey leaves his number anyway, you know, for evidence later on should they be arrested or something. And I mean, why would they be arrested? It's not like they just sloppily throw dudes in the back of vans in broad daylight or anything, or create more evidence by recording the abductions on video cameras for absolutely no reason. This here is Bruford, our main protagonist, or antagonist depending on what side of the fence you're on. At first you would think they were just going to do surveillance on him, but nah, this is the actual drop.
Stop hurting! Get the motherfucking ass! Put that motherfucker in there!
Wait, what the hell just happened? Was the sister not supposed to show up? I thought she was part of the plan. I swear, this is some sloppy shit. No wonder Bruford almost got away. I got to say, I do like their hideout setup and the way they roll their victims in disguised as bread deliveries to this random store. Hope they aren't dumb enough to do several drops in one day. Would be an awkward conversation if the store ever sold out of bread. Ah, more evidence. What was the point of taking a picture? Is it for before and after purposes, like getting your teeth fixed at the dentist? I wonder what an after Drop Squad picture looks like. At least Bruford isn't alone in this torture chamber. The Drop Squad likes to use their time efficiently, so they drop several people at one time. There's also a crooked preacher and a local drug dealer who isn't going to make his reprogramming easy for them. Apparently, the Drop Squad has been around since the 60s and the 70s, so you would think that their methods are pretty tight by this point. At least that's what this guy Rocky is thinking while he's looking at the footage of them botching the Bruford job. Oh, I get it. They record their drops for training purposes, like when you call a customer service line. They should have told Bruford that this drop may be recorded when they snatched him. That would have made the movie for me. Rocky doesn't approve of how these drops are going down, and he has good reason to worry because a detective shows up not long after they enter the shop to inquire about all these bread deliveries they've been getting. It's a minor miracle that these dudes weren't caught years ago. I mean, just look at them. just making simple mistakes. Since a large portion of the Drop Squad movie takes place in this underground bunker, most of the story has to be told through flashbacks. We get to see everything that led up to Bruford being dropped and learn why it's even necessary. Our first flashback takes us to a meeting room where a bunch of marketing execs are pitching ideas for new advertisements. This meeting is about a malt liquor ad, and of course in these white execs' minds, the only thing that black people love more than liquor is sexy women. Fried chicken too. But we'll get to that later. The picture for the advertisement is super offensive, but not more offensive to my senses than this whack-ass rap they decide to pair with it.
Pass me the moment and Jack, boy. Now when you with your freak, yeah. Now this right here is Knucklehead, and Mumbling Jack is old lack. You know what I'm saying? Ow.
Mumbling Jack malt liquor, available everywhere black people are served.
Excellent.
Good God, that's terrible, even for 90s standards. Only one person at the table protests the ad.
I think this is kind of offensive.
This white dude is so over-the-top white that this scene almost seems like sketch comedy.
Why does she have to have the bottle between her legs?
Where else would it go?
But do we really need to put something like this in the African-American community?
Well, nobody drinks Mumbling Jack in my neighborhood.
We come back to the present, and I like how all the people who get dropped have their own little themed cell. Bruford's cell has all kinds of black power images on the walls, and his agent is bombarding him with books written by black authors. I actually think that's a nice touch to have a room personalized with your transgression. Earlier, the pastor had all kinds of Bible scriptures taped to him, and the drug dealer is placed in a coffin to try to drill home that that's where he's going to end up if he doesn't change. They got it good compared to this one woman though. She's an author who writes books telling black men to disrespect black women, but in her spare time lays up under white men. I could be wrong, but she seems like a not so subtle jab at the surge of black man hating authors who popped up in the early 90s. Who knows? She's surrounded by all kinds of coon and Tom imagery, and she herself is dressed up to look like a pickaninny. I think she definitely has it worse as far as scenery goes. Things aren't going well with the drug dealer, and the squad thinks it's because their methods are just too out of date. They have a meeting and things get heated with Rocky, who thinks the old ways are just fine. Garvey says it's a new generation and they aren't trying to hear all that revolutionary stuff. In case you couldn't tell that Rocky is a 60s throwback, they dress him to look exactly like a Black Panther. In fact, the majority of the Drop Squad is made up to look like old revolutionaries. They don't even use their real names and are all named after famous black revolutionaries. We already know Garvey, which is short for Marcus Garvey, but there's also a Stokely, named after Stokely Carmichael, the civil rights activist. There's a Huey, one of the founders of the Black Panthers, and there's even a female named Molly, a country in Africa. I thought it was a pretty clever idea for people who would pick up on that. Bruford isn't broken too easily either, and starts pleading his case to the squad. He tells them that he does what he has to do to get ahead in life, and it's not that easy in the corporate world to just tell his bosses that he doesn't want to do something because it's offensive. What the hell, Ving Rhames? This ain't no holiday heart. Garvey doesn't think this is working, and now he's going to do it his way. I'm terrified to find out what that is now. We flash back to one of the few times that Bruford decided to visit his family, and he's barely there for 2 minutes before he's already had enough. He's one of those people that's basically embarrassed to hang around his family and treats them like they're annoying. In particular, he's been avoiding his cousin Flip, who Bruford sees as kind of a screw up, and if there's anything the family screw up always wants from you, it's for you to recommend him for a job. Bruford isn't sure about putting his name on the line for his cousin, but he tells him if he can get his stuff together and fill out an application, that he'll see what he can do. In the present day, things aren't going much better with these new Garvey tactics. He wants to take the more violent approach, but that mostly consists of them throwing water on Bruford's face and grabbing his head aggressively. I mean, honestly, there's only so much you could do to the people that you kidnap outside of killing them. I mean, you could threaten to drop them again, but I think they'll be ready for it the second time around. To make matters worse, Rocky finds surveillance footage of Flip that shows him being put out of Bruford's job when he came to inquire about a job. I'm just as frustrated as you, Rocky. This whole operation is backwards as hell. You know what would have made things easier? If they did all this research that they're trying to do now before they abducted Bruford. They take a trip to a used car lot after learning that one of Bruford's uncles runs it, and dude immediately knows who they are as soon as they walk through the door. So much for Drop Squad being anonymous. He already knows they have his nephew, and very nonchalantly agrees to give them any information they need about Flip and Bruford's relationship. I guess that relationship is at the center of his issues? I don't know, I won't lie, I'm kinda lost. Yeah, I guess so. As a side note, the uncle is funny as hell, and should have been a Drop Squad member. They could have called him Booker T. Armed with the information about his family, the squad starts going all in. What's with the shower cap and hoop earrings? Is he also unsure about his gender identity? Flashback to the Jameson family reunion, And this is my favorite part of the movie, mostly because of the accurate portrayal of the typical black family. There's a loud, sometimes annoying cousin, Bruford's mom, sister, and daughter standing around talking trash about other family members, and uncles drinking and playing cards. I don't know about Bruford, but I'd be right at home. It's so obvious he wants to leave so bad though, and has the look of disdain on his face with every interaction. Everybody is having a good time but him, so he thought now would be a good time to ruin everything by showing his new fried chicken commercial. If you thought the malt liquor picture and rap was bad, well...
What are you stopping for, girl? I got to get on home, fix me something to eat, cause I'm hungry.
No, can I help you? You sure can.
What's them? Announcer, please school these sisters.
General Otis is proud to introduce the Gospel Pack and praise his name, napkins with a verse of scripture printed right on the front. You know the General uses only the finest ingredients.
Let me get some.
Oh, Spike, that's my piece.
The commercial is so over the top, and I watched it like 8 times when I saw this movie. This of course pisses off the whole family, and Bruford's uncle gives him a little talk on having some integrity about yourself. Things didn't go as planned, so Bruford leaves the reunion and gets into a heated argument about where he came from with his sister. Afterwards, we learn that this was the day that she decided to call a drop squad and have him taken. When we go back to the present though, it seems she's starting to regret having him dropped, because she goes up to one of the squad members to ask when they will be letting him go since it's been like 2 weeks. Child, they don't know. They suck at this job. And how does she always know where to find them? If you need further proof that the drop squad is ineffective at what they do, then look no further than the fact that they kept Bruford far longer than they kept the drug dealer, who just conveniently got shot in front of his drop agent, proving that their methods were completely useless. Looks like Garvey was right. The drop squad makes one final effort to get through to Bruford by going to visit his cousin Flip at his home. Flip is a stand-up dude though, despite how Bruford treats him, because he refuses to admit that his cousin is a terrible dude. He puts all the blame about the job situation on himself. Something gotta happen soon because Bruford is getting tortured at this point. They putting Oreo cookies all on his face and screaming at him, Jesus. I don't know if I'm completely on board with the Oreo thing. At least his girlfriend is a sister. Rocky comes in and finally starts taking control over his operation. They played a tape of Flip being thrown out of his office building, and even went as far as bringing Flip in to give a speech about how he feels about how he was treated. They've definitely completely given up on anonymity at this point, so you know Bruford giving them fits. I feel like they could have done all this way earlier than they did. Or was the idea the whole time to beat him into submission so he would be receptive to anything at that point? I guess that's kind of how torturing works though. He must have won the game because Rocky whispers the name of the show in his ear.
Come back, brother.
What's his prize for going through all that, you ask? Well, nothing, I guess. He gets to go home and take his sister to task for having him dropped. When talking to his sister though, it seems like she learned more from the experience than he did. So it's the idea of the drop squad to help the person being dropped, or the person who had them dropped. The results might not have been all that great for the other people who we saw, but they did at least get the councilman on track. Oh, was that? You forgot about the councilman from earlier? Yeah, me too, but they didn't spend a ton of time talking about the results of their other drops. This movie was all about Bruford, and even his results are kind of up in the air. Instead, at the end, they decide to drop the restaurant owner from earlier for selling t-shirts. I mean, damn, there's got to be more important issues at hand. Rocky tells Garvin that he plans on quitting because he's lost his passion for it, and Garvin reminds him of the name of the game they're playing and change his mind.
Come back, brother.
I feel like a little more time could have been added to the end of the movie to flesh out more of what happened to the other people who got dropped, but instead we get these quick lines of text telling you what became of all the people, including the line that no official record of the drop squad exists, which is a bold lie because we have photo, video, and written evidence throughout the entire movie of their existence. Also, there's this gem about the drug dealer that got killed after they released him. He was buried in the rain? What's that got to do with anything? In the end, we do learn that Bruford quit his job and went freelance, and I'm not so sure if that's a happy ending or not. You tell me. Let's get to the grade. I feel like the drop squad was a good concept that just had poor execution. I like the idea of kidnapping black people to try to reprogram them to have pride in themselves and their community, but as far as this movie goes, the eventual redemption only really means anything if you care more about the people being dropped. Since this movie focused mostly on Bruford, I feel like the first half of the movie should have been dedicated exclusively to building his story and his motivations for who he is and why he became so detached from his family. Then the second half of the movie could focus on the drop and its redemption story rather than the flashback narrative we got. Instead, the movie spends too much time on the drop squad and their inner turmoil instead of their mission. It's just way too many members of the squad for you to care about or even remember all of them in an hour and 30 minutes for them to be the focus. When you watch it back and really think about it, not much time is dedicated to Bruford's actual drop, and because of that, I think it loses its impact. My grade for the Drop Squad is a D. There's a good movie here with great actors. It just needed to be rearranged in a more cohesive way. And that does it for this episode of the BlackTrack. Let me know what you thought about the Drop Squad in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And until next time, I'll holler at you.